it's fiesta time again. Today it's time for part 5, the second to last part of our Fiesta Cal. Today I'm going to show you how to make the triangles to wedge into the sides of the blanket to get a straight edge for the border, and also how to join. So I actually noticed that some of you are just on time with everything and have finished all your motifs, which I am totally amazed by. But you know, if you're not, if you haven't finished, don't sweat it, don't worry about it. Lord knows I'm not ready. But you know, everybody just goes at their own speed, and even at least I'm just going to use the holidays also to work a bit on my fiesta. So really no need to hurry, but it's all coming together now, and I'm going to show you the joining and the triangles today, part 5. Okay, so now it's time for the triangles, because we need the triangles to get the straight edges. Making a motif blanket like this, normally I've made motif blankets that are just squares, and those are obviously way simpler, but this one has the little squares, the big octagons, and the little and 2 sizes of triangles. And it's a bit like making a jigsaw puzzle, right? Because you have to get all the pieces together to get your straight ends. So if you look down here on what I've got set up, just a few 4 octagons here to show you how you're going to be puzzling your your motif blanket together. And you see then always in the middles here go the squares, and then to get the straight lines, the straight edges for our border, we need to put little triangles here, wedged in all around. And then to get the corners, we need smaller triangles like so. And this way we get a square blanket, or not square, but with straight edges and corners, like so. I mean, with the flower octagons and all these types of little squares being quite the busy bees and a lot of things happening, a lot of color, I just decided to go with a very simple one solid color triangles, like so. And I kind of like how it just accentuates the other designs, really. So, and these are just one color, and I would actually like to say that I do really recommend having them just one color, because although maybe you might be tempted to do them with the border like the other pieces, but this round here is single crochet round, just crocheted straight into the edge. And if you do that with another color, it's just not going to be neat. I can just tell you right away. Of course, everybody does as they like, but I really recommend, and this is like from a designing point of view, that these squares are just one solid color. And how I think about it, actually, they are the main color, but I mean, you can do them any color you choose, obviously. So let's get to it. I'm going to show you how to make these very simple squares, and then how we're going to do the joining. Okay, so now we're going to do the triangles. And like I explained to you before, they are all just very simple, one color, and they are not worked in the Mosaic Crochet technique. Just normal single crochet motifs. And so we're always going to be working into both loops here, actually. Okay, so I'm going to show you the bigger one. We need to do 2 sizes, actually. The bigger ones for the sides, and the smaller one for the corners. Like so. I'm just going to use some other yarn here, actually some cotton, to show you, because my wool is not very good for detail. So for your baby size or small sized fiesta, you will need 10 triangles of the big ones, the side ones, 14 for the medium, 20 for the large, and 28 triangles for the full fiesta. So we're going to be working back and forth in rows 1 to 8 and into both loops. Let's just get started. We started with a magic loop. So yes, and not to forget, you should use a crochet hook now that is 0.5 millimeters smaller than the hook that you've been using for your other motifs. Because actually these are my first ones here, and they turned out a bit big, so I just went down half a hook size. Okay, so we get started. We start with a magic circle. And I'm going to pull my yarn up here and do 2 chains that do not count as a stitch, and then I'm going to work 7 half double crochets into the magic loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7. So this is round 1, and actually just usually you would tighten your magic loop at this point. Just leave it open like this. And now you're going to turn here at the end of, because now we're working back and forth because it's not mosaic crochet. And now at the beginning of round 2 you're going to do chain 2, and these 2 chains don't actually count as stitches. They're just made to better get this side of the triangle, the large one here, the longer side, just a bit more flexible, just so we can stretch it out a bit later when we block it. So they do not count as stitches. Okay, and now we're going to turn, and we're going to make 2 single crochets into the next stitch, or into the last half double crochet of round 1. So if you're in doubt, you can count here and see 1 chain, 2 chains. We're not going to work into the chains, and we go into the 3rd stitch here, the last half double crochet of round 1. And we're going to work 2 single crochet stitches here, and as you can see I'm working into both loops here. Okay, we do 2 here, and then we do 2 more, just 1 into each of the next 2 ones, and then we come to the middle part, and there we're going to do 1 single crochet, 2 chains, and another single crochet into the same stitch like so. And now we just mirror what we did before. We do 1 and 2, and into the last stitch of the round we're going to do 2 single crochets. You see, this is all very simple. So on to round 3. 2 chains, and then always into the last stitch of the last round we're going to do 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and now we do 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we get to our chain space here, and now we're actually just going to work into the chain space here in the middle, not into the loops as normally, just right into the chain space. And there we're going to do 1 single crochet, 2 chains, and another single crochet into the chain space like so. And again we do 4 single crochets, and 4, and then 2 single crochets into the last stitch of the round like so. As you can see, this is very simple. This is a bit gappy here, but I'm actually using a bigger hook just so you can see the stitches better. Okay, so that's round 3 for you. Let's continue and go on to round 4, because this is also very... Okay, so that's round 3 for you. Okay, so here we have the first 3 rounds, and I'm just going to show you one more actually, or I'm going to do up to, no, I'll do up to 6 so I can show you the small triangle, but they're exactly the same. It's very simple. So you always start each round, now we go on to round 4. You start each round with 2 chains, and then into the first single crochet of the round you do 2 single crochet stitches, and now you do 6, and as you can see we're always just adding 2 to each side because we're increasing at the beginning of the round and in the middle. So in round 4 we do 6 single crochets until we get to the chain space. Into the chain space goes 1 single crochet, 2 chains, and 1 single crochet, and then we do another 6, five and 6, and into the last one we do 2 single crochets like so. So as you can see, we're doing 2 at the beginning of round, there we're increasing 1 stitch, we're doing 2 in the middle, increasing 2 stitches, and 2 in the end. So we're always increasing 4 stitches each round. And we continue the same way. That was 4, and now we go on to 5, and it's always the same. 2 into the first one. Last round we did 6 up to the top. Now we're gonna do then 8. 1, and it's good actually to count, because sometimes you will miss 1 stitch, and we want the right stitch count here. That was 8, and then the middle again as always, 1 single crochet, 2 chains, and 1 single crochet. Take care to go into the first one here. To get always, now we want 8 back until we get to the other side. Okay, like so, 8, and then 2 into the last stitch. So this was round 5 for you. Okay, so for the small triangle there are 6 rows, and for the big one there are 9. They're worked exactly the same, so I'm just going to show you the small one. And now we are at row 6, which is actually not a row, it's a round, because now we're going to work back here, up here, and we're going to do this edge here as well, so that we get a nice base for our joining and the border. It's nicer to have already worked stitches into that one there. Okay, so we start round 6 just as all the other ones. 2 chains, 2 single crochets into the first stitch, and now we have 10 single crochet stitches until we get to the middle. Oops. And as you can see, it's all very simple, just 1 single crochet into each stitch, nice and easy. And the 10th, and then we get to the middle part as always. 1 single crochet, 2 chains, 1 single crochet, and again 10 stitches here. And then we get to the last stitch of the round. There we're going to do 2 single crochets, and now we are going to turn. And before I turn here, I'm just going to close up my magic loop here just a bit, not completely actually, just like so. I'll tighten this later. And now I'm going to continue round 6 and go over the long side here, this border, to make it neat before the joining. Okay, we finished round 6 just normally, or this part of round 6, and now I'm going to do 1 chain, and then I want you to work 8 single crochets evenly spaced here on this part before you get to the magic loop. And so if you do 2 single crochets into the next stitch and then 1 into the next and repeat that, that will do the trick. So I did 1 chain, and then I'm going to go and work here into sort of the border stitch of all the rounds. So here we do 2 and 2, 1 into the next, and we have 3, 2 into the next, that's 5, 1 into the next, that's 6, and then 2 into this one here, and then that's 8. So it's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now we're here in the middle at the magic loop, and into the magic loop you work 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3, like so. And then we continue the same way. 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet always. So here we do 2, 1, and 2, 1 into the next, that's 3. I'm working over my tail here from the magic loop as well. Now we do 2, that's 5, and 1 into the next, 6, and we finish it with 2 into the last one here. And we have 8 on this side as well, like so. So here we did 8, 3 and 8, so that's a total of 19 stitches here over this one here, and we have 13 single crochets here, and just 1 chain in the corner here, 2 chains here, and I'm just going to cut. So pull through, and instead of making this 1 chain here like on the other corner, I'm just going to join with an invisible join, and I'm going to use the sewing needle for this because it's the last stitch. And you see, I want you to find the first single crochet of this round 6. You see this here is the first one, this is the second, and just join with an invisible join into there, and so this last invisible join will serve as if it were the chain 1 in the corner we did on the other side, like so, you see. And then we just weave in our ends. Like so. And before weaving in the end from the from the magic loop, I want you to tighten that very nicely, like so, so it closes completely. And I've worked over it a bit, but I'm gonna weave it in also because the magic loop is a bit tricky that way. You want to really take good care with those ends. Okay, like so. And I'm just gonna go over how you do the bigger one, if you do the same for the bigger one. So this is the smaller triangle, and you should have 13 single crochets on each side of the shorter sides and 19 on the long side. Okay, so now I showed you how to make the smaller triangle for the corner, and the bigger one is just the same. This one is 6 rows or rounds, and this one is 9. So you just continue exactly the same way, 3 more rows, and always adding a stitch here, making 2 in the beginning, and increasing always here, beginning, middle, and end. So when you're working this last round, the 9th, you should have 16 single crochets here until you get up to the top, and 16 again, and 2 here, and so that's a total of 19 single crochets for each of the short sides. And then when you get here, you just do exactly the same as we did at the end of round 6 here. You do 1 chain and continue here and work single crochets over the long side. And again, it's the same trick really. You just do 2 into 1 stitch and 1 into the next, and you should have 12 here evenly spaced until you get to the middle, 3 in the middle, and then 12 again here, and finishing with the invisible join like for the small one. So before we move on to the joining, I just wanted to tell you that I mean, this is always a bit tricky when you're doing these motif blankets, especially now that we have all kinds of different motifs. So you really just want to take care to try and make your triangles fit as nicely as possible. So that's why I went down a size in the hook, and also before, I don't know, I'm always working with wool, so it's so easy to block because it's so manageable. I'm not quite sure how this works with acrylics because it's, you know, plastic. But with wool it's very easy to manipulate it a bit, and I actually just went the extra mile, and if you could follow me here, over here with the camera. So I just laid these out and really, you know, measured how long is this side supposed to be, how long is this supposed to be, you know. And then I blocked everything accordingly. you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it's worth it, because it's always a bit tricky to get all these parts to sit nicely together. Okay, so that's the triangles, and I'm going to show you the joining. Okay, so lots of motifs, lots of joining, and just to warn you beforehand, this takes quite a long time to do the joining in this, because you have to do, you see, just all these parts you have to join together, you see. So you line up your blanket the way you want it to be, and then, for example, I'm just going to show you how I join from here to here and here. Okay, so there are many different types of joining methods, obviously, and you can choose the one that you like the best. I like to use slip stitches because I like the way that looks, and sometimes I will do it from the front and sometimes from the back. For this one I wanted to do it from the back because sometimes I have different colors here in my border, although these actually are amazingly all just the same color. Okay, so then we should just start here. You see, I'm going to take one of my new triangles here for this, because that's the one that is blocked to the right size. And so when you do this, okay, so this is what I'm going to be joining here. So first you lay it out like so, and then we're going to do it always taking the front sides. And on the triangles, you see the front side is here where we did the last round. And we're going to lay the front sides together like this, facing each other. Front sides facing, and we're going to work it from the back. I recommend using if you always have the same color for the borders or for the main color, then you just use that color actually. And but if you have two different colors, then you should be using one of these two colors here. I just wanted to use a bright yarn here to show you how it works. But for example, if I would now, when I start joining my blanket, then I would choose this color here, the border color here, and then I want to work it from the gray, because I'm working with this color and I want to work it from the gray. So let's just imagine this one here is dark. So now we have to find the stitch here in the stitch here in the corner, the chain stitch here, and we're going to be working in the back loop only of both pieces, both motifs, and that is the back loop when you look at it from the front. So this is the back loop here, and then I'm gonna find, where was I gonna do this? Well, it doesn't really matter. And then I'm gonna find on this one here as well the back loop here. And what was this like? Yeah, okay, here. And then I'm not going to work into the treble, I'm going to leave that one, and I'm going to go into the chain here. And if you have no border, you just go into the second chain here. Okay, so you always have to have them lining up. And this is really simple. It's just pulling your yarn through, fastening it with one chain, and then you work into every stitch, only into the back loop, you see. Back loop here, and this is very dark. Well done, Tinna. And back loop here, and one slip stitch. You're going to be using the same hook size as you used for all your motifs, and even to get it, like I'm used to this, but you don't want them to be too tight. The slip stitches can get a bit tight, so you always want to give them a bit extra slack. If you find it difficult to get the right tension here, you should maybe go up half a size or even a whole size in stitches. But I like to use the same hook as I did, and then just take care to give them a little bit extra slack. And it's actually a good idea to, these are small sizes here, like it's not very many stitches, but you want them to obviously line up. So when we get to the other corner here, then the first chain here in the corner is going to go in the first chain here in this corner. You see? And if you have one extra stitch, then just skip one. Like if I say, let's say that I see that I have one more stitches on this motif than here for this side, then I would just skip this stitch and go right into the next one. It's no problem, nobody will notice. But it's best not to do this close to a corner. like so. So into the back loop of this one and back loop of the other, and just slip stitch through. Nice and easy. Okay, so now I'm almost at the end of this side of the motifs, and you see here I have 2 stitches left here, and it fits perfectly. I have 2 stitches left here before the treble. So I'm just going to finish those 2, always into the back loop of each, like so. A bit tricky getting into the chains here. This one goes into the last chain on this side of the octagon. And slip stitch. And as you can see here, you can see the color here that I'm using, but if it were either one of this color, the gray or the blue, then you really can see it. So I'm just going to show you the difference here. Here I did it with the blue, and then from the back side it would look like this, and from the front side you really can't see. And this is the reason why I want to go into the back loops also always, because only because I really like how it gives an extra crispiness here to leave the front loops, so really get a very nice line here, you see, leaving this detail. So this is what it looks like when you use one of these colors, of the colors that you're joining. Okay, and then we just continue, so it looks like this, and then I'm going to continue and join these 2 here. So I just flip it over like so, and always from the back side with the 2 front sides facing. And now yes, one thing, it's the same size of squares and triangles for both types of the Fiesta. If you're doing the simple one, the simple version without the border here, you have 1 less stitch. It's just the 1 extra treble here that we have in this one. So if you're not, if you don't have the frame, just ignore the treble instructions and continue as if they were not there, and then it all just works out, because when I join with the frame, then I just join the trebles into the trebles, so they don't join actually into the triangles or the squares, you know. So it all fits. Okay, so now I'm gonna find here my trebles, and again it's just wonderful that I have this very dark yarn here, but you know. Okay, this is the back loop of the first treble here, and this is the back loop of the second one, and so I just do 1 single crochet here, and then I continue the same way, going always into the back loop of each motif and do my single crochets. And actually for these bigger motifs I want to count. When I'm like halfway through, I'm gonna count. I'll count always and check if my stitch count matches, and if there is some difference there, then just skip 1 stitch, no problem. Continue the same way, slip stitching all the stitches together into each stitch. Okay, so now I just have a couple of stitches here until I get to this corner here, and so always take care to check when you're getting to a corner. You see here I have 1 single crochet and 1 chain, and the same here, because you really want the corners to line up. That's the most important part. So if you're gonna do some cheating, then do that, you know, somewhere in the middle here. Okay, just a couple of more stitches, the last single crochet here, and the chain, and then I'm going to do the 2 trebles together into the back loop of each of the trebles. It's especially important that those line up actually, but if you're doing without the frame, then you just take care that your chain, the corner chains line up nicely. Okay, and I'm just going to continue here and take, because you see, if I open it up, this is what it looks like now, and so this would be my next part here, and I'm going to continue here. So then I put those 2 right sides facing, and, or no, I think I'm going to do this one here, like so. As you can see, it's a lot of joining involved, and the The reason the squares fit, even though it's not the same stitch count for the framed ones, is because the trebles just connect to the trebles. They do not connect to the squares. So when I start with the square, I just go into the second chain here in the corner after the treble, and the second chain here in the corner of the square as well. Continue exactly the same way. One stitch into each, so every part of it is joined, and this really does give a very nice finishing, you see, like so. And it's just like this, all the joints. I wanted to show you one more thing in the joining, because I get so many joining questions. I often get questions about how to do the joining. So this is, I always do this with slip stitches. That's my favorite. You can sew it together. You can use single crochet. For the single crochet, you get a bit of a ridge. I don't like that. And with the sewing, well, I'm just way quicker with the hook. And I've also found that when you crochet your blankets together with slip stitches, as opposed to sewing, then it's just way stronger. You know, it will last a lot longer than if you do the sewing. But now I've shown you the Fiesta. I'm just going to show you the other method that I will use sometimes, or usually use actually, when I have the same color, you know, in the last round of all the motifs, like I have here in my baby terrazzo. You see, then I will do this from the front, and I actually really like this method as well. You see, it's like a little braid you get here. It's very nice, and it's exactly the same method. You just do it from the other side. Let's see, I had two pieces here to show you, just a quick. Okay, so instead of, to get this method here from the front side, to get the braid here, then instead of doing it from the back, I do it from the front. So for the Fiesta, you put your right sides together and do it from the back. For the other type, then you put your back sides together and do it from the front. And it's just the same. Always just starting in the corner, taking care to line your pieces up, and doing your slip stitches. This way, when people ask me about the other joints, I have done it here already, right? And it's exactly the same, just into, and now I also go just into the back loop. So, but now it's a bit easier to see because it's from into the back loop here and into the back loop, the two loops in the middle really, and it's just the same, just slip stitches all the way. And always take care, it's very important to give your slip stitches when joining a bit of an extra slack, because if not, the slip stitches are so tiny, they're the smaller stitch, and they're a bit, well, tight. So if you don't give them some extra slack, then your pieces will kind of, how do you say this in English, like crumple together. So you really want to always take care while joining. So this is the second method when doing it from the front. And that will look like this when you have the same color. You see, and it's very nice. I love this method, this delicate braid sort of look. So always when you're joining, do take care to lie down your project every once in a while to see that it's all sitting nicely, you see, because you don't want it to be crumpled. And you know, at this point there's so much work that has gone into your project that you really don't want to be cutting any corners at this point, you know, with the joining and with the border and with the finishing. The finishing is so important, you guys. It's just, so if you feel it's not looking very nice, you know, don't hesitate to just unravel a bit and, you know, repeat until you are happy with it. One more thing before we finish, I wanted to show you. You see here, these two, they do line up quite nicely here, because I actually, you know, I blocked them and I'm taking good care to do it. But like here, I'm gonna show you in the next part when we do the border. You see here, it is the triangles. It isn't quite even. You see here. But undo this here to show you. So if your triangles are kind of going out a bit like this, don't worry about that. We'll even that out in the first round of the border. You see, I have a little trick for you in the next one to how to even it out if your triangles are looking a bit puffy. I guess is the word I'm looking for. And then we'll even that out in the first round of the border. So that's it for today. That was the joining and the triangles, and I absolutely can't wait to see all your fiestas being put together and, you know, coming together nicely. So until the next time, that was part 5. Okay, so that's it for the day. Now you know how to do the little triangles to get your straight edge and how to do all the joining. So I'll see you next time for part 6, the final part. Ciao!